To order for the City of San Juan Commission today, November the 15th, 2016. It is a special called meeting at 5:30 p.m. If we can rise for the invocation. Mr. Arjona, can you lead us in an invocation? And let us face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A date which the American Cancer Society encourages everybody to, that is smoking currently, to at least give it one quit attempt to quit smoking. A lot of people do not recognize that tobacco use is associated as the leading cause of preventable death here in the U.S. And so we want to bring that, highlight that, and let people, understand that it is causing great harm in our, not just in our county or in our state, but, throughout the United States. And so we just want to highlight that.
Very good. I'm going to state your name for the record.
My name is Claudia Orozco, and I'm also a tobacco prevention specialist with the Tobacco Prevention and Control Coalition.
Very good. I'm going to go ahead and read this onto the record, and I'll present this to you. From the City of San Juan proclamation called a Great American Smokeout. Whereas the cigarette smoking is the major single cause of cancer death in the United States, and whereas cigarette smoking causes over 480 deaths, 1 of 5 deaths each year in the United States, smoking causes more deaths each year than HIV, illegal drug use, alcohol use, motor vehicle injuries, and firearm-related incidents. More than 10 times as many U.S. citizens have died prematurely from cigarette smoking than have died in all wars through the United States during its history. Whereas secondhand smoke is the third leading cause of preventable death in the United States, killing approximately 42,000 Americans each year. And secondhand smoke is a known cause of lung cancer, heart disease, chronic lung and ailments such as bronchitis, asthma, and other health problems. Whereas workers in the hospitality and service industries, such as bartenders and wait staff, are significantly less protected from exposure to secondhand smoke. And with every breath in a restaurant or bar that allows smoking, workers are exposed to 7,000 chemicals, including more than 70 known carcinogens that cause heart disease, lung cancer, and other serious illnesses. Between the year 2009 and 2012, smoking attributed economic costs were between $289 billion and $332.5 billion each year in the United States, including $1.32.5 billion to $175.9 billion for direct medical care of adults. Whereas quitting smoking lowers your risk for smoking-related diseases and can add years to your life, just 1 year after quitting smoking, your risk for a heart attack drops sharply. And where within 2 to 5 years after quitting smoking, your risk for stroke could fall to about the same as a non-smoker's. And if you quit smoking, your risk for cancer of the mouth, throat, esophagus, bladder, and will drop by at least half within 5 years. And whereas 10 years after you quit smoking, your risk for lung cancer drops by half. So whereas the Tobacco Prevention and Control Coalition of Hidalgo County, in conjunction with the American Heart Association and many other community partners, support the American Cancer Society's Great American Smokeout campaign to encourage Americans to quit smoking. Now, therefore, I, San Juanita Sanchez, Mayor of the City of San Juan, along with the Mayor Pro Tem Mario Garza, Commissioners Jesse Ramirez, Raudel Maldonado, and Pete Garcia, hereby proclaim November the 17th, 2016 as a Great American Smokeout Day. I'd like to present to you this proclamation. And thank you for bringing that to us.
Thank you.
To keep this an awareness in the front of our public.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all. We also have a proclamation to recognize retiree Rene Gonzalez from Utility Billing and Collections. Is there any member from his family present? I know that he is not, he's not present today because he is working. but he gave us many years, and I'd like to go ahead and read this in his honor for the years of service. And it reads like this: the proclamation from the City of San Juan for Rene Gonzalez. On October 27 of 2016, after 25 years of dedicated service, Mr. Rene Gonzalez retired from the City of San Juan. And Mr. Rene Gonzalez was employed by the city on August 8, 1991 as a meter reader and utility building and collections up till his retirement. Mr. Gonzalez is the loving father of Macayela and Jacob Gonzalez, and through his leadership in our city, we will miss the active participation of Mr. Gonzalez in the day-to-day operations of the city. And whereas Mr. Rene Gonzalez's dedicated interest and devotion to duty has had a valuable effect of the efficiency and morale of his coworkers, and we wish to extend to him our sincere appreciation for his outstanding performance of duty. And through all these various endeavors, he has won the highest regard of his associates and the admiration of citizens throughout the community. And whereas the City of San Juan wishes for a long and happy and productive retirement to Mr. Rene Gonzalez. And so on behalf of all of us from the organization of the City of San Juan and the residents, we are dedicating this proclamation to Mr. Rene Gonzalez and wish him well in all that he does. And we thank him for his years of service. Moving on to item C, discussion on legislative updates. He is not present. If he were to come, I will let him speak. This is would be a representative from the Office of State Representative Armando Martinez. Going on to item D, update on Noche de Paz event. Mr. Arjona.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. We're working on the Noche de Paz event that is going to be taking place on December the 17th. We currently have about 14 vendors, food vendors already. That are committed. We'll be meeting with the carnival rights representative to finalize the costs on the rides and the games. So far, they're proposing 9 rides out of the 9 rides that they have. There's 4 big rides and 5 small ones, along with the games. So there's about 5 games that they're going to be bringing. Also, we're working on the parade. Mr. Ruben Rodriguez is working on that. Some of the schools here from the PSJ area will be participating. The band lineup tentatively, as I spoke to Mr. Alvarado, he gave me a lineup: Sonny Sauceda, Lucky Joe, Ricardo Castillon, and Stephanie Montiel. These are the ones that he has so far, waiting on your approval so that we can proceed with that. And these bands that he's getting would be under $20,000 for all 4. Total, under 20.
Give me the names again.
We have Sonny Sauceda, Lucky Joe, Ricardo Castillon, and Stephanie Montiel.
Have you worked on sponsorships?
No, Mayor, I know that Mr. Rodriguez is working on that, in the Parks and Recreation Department are working on getting some sponsors.
Have you notified the EDC in reference to, weren't they going to give a portion, or were they supposed to approve a certain amount of money?
Usually, they participate on this particular event. I know that I sent an email to Madam Chair, Ms. Adriana Salazar, but I haven't gotten a response from her.
Well, they've already approved it in their budget.
It's approved, right?
Yeah. So it's already been approved. And we have some members here. I think it's somewhere between
35?
25 to 30.
Right, 31, 35, something like
Yeah,
that.
so it's already been approved.
Okay. And we have about 21,000 for this event, Mr. Garza, on the general fund?
Yes, we have 21,000 from the city and 37,500 that was approved through the,
Right. So it's about 50, something like that.
yes.
And that comes from the hotel motel, correct?
The site fund, yes, correct.
How about advertisement? I haven't seen any.
Advertisement, once we solidify with the bands, then Mr. Alvarado is going to be helping us out with that.
Okay, so we have, date is this going to,
December the 17th.
Are we charging, Ben?
The committee pretty much recommended, but it's a recommendation not to charge the entrance fee.
and it'll be at the park?
Yes, ma'am.
Times, Ben?
We're looking at, usually the parade starts like around noonish, And then after that, that's when the event will take
But the
place.
parade was at night. Mr. Renee? The parades have been at night, correct? Okay. Because, yeah, because it's been like a lighted parade, so it's
Yes,
not at
I
noon.
apologize for that. Yes, we're looking at about 6, like, but the event will start about maybe noon or 1.
Okay.
Barbecue cook-offs, are we having any of that?
We don't have that, sir.
And the parade will start where?
That's the thing that we're working on, Mayor, whether we start at the,
Where's the director? There he is.
I'm sorry, on 8th Street, or we're going to push it further back. It all depends on the number of entries, and the route, we're still working on that. Do we leave it as the same as last year, which I believe it was through, correct me, Mr. Jaime, was it through Standard that we went through?
Going from City Hall to First Street to the recycling center, and then up Oblate, if possible, if we don't interfere with any of the
Services.
the services. Otherwise, that's why they went through Standard last year, I believe.
And we've already advertised for that at the schools? No.
Speaking to Mr. Ruben today, he did say that he had sent some information out. As of today.
You just need to finalize this. We've got less than a month.
About a month, yes.
So it's been very late in coming. Okay. Any other questions on this for Mr. Arjona? All right, moving on to E, presentation on departmental reports for the Department of Parks and Recreation, Planning and Zoning, Memorial Library, and Sanitation. Are there any questions?
I got a question for Mr. Willingham.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your employment with the city of San Juan. You started when?
Friday, we completed the first 2 weeks. October 31st was the first day.
So far, how's the transition going? How are you
Everything's
adjusting?
Business as usual. Transition's been great. Staff's been great. City administration, everybody's been very helpful, and thank you all for that. Everything's been smooth so far.
And also, just to say another director, another gentleman that came on to another position is Mr. Rene Jaime, taking over the purchasing and risk management position.
Congratulations, Mr. Jaime. Everything there smooth? Rene, everything, I guess,
Carmen, I feel safe.
sure.
Carmen's helping out.
If I may, real quick, Saturday will be our final day for tackle football. Start at 10 in the morning at PSG Stadium. We'll have our third place game for the minors, followed by the Super Bowl, and then our third place game for the majors, followed by the Super Bowl. So they'll start at 10 a.m. and they'll run every hour and 15 minutes. So just an invitation to anybody who'd like to come out and support the kids the last final day of the season. We invite everybody out this Saturday to
So
PSG Stadium.
when you say the PSG Stadium, you're talking about the turf field?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
PSG Stadium, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, Ms. Gonzalez, on the sanitation side. I know that we lost a vehicle to that fire. What is that doing? What do we need to do to, and how are you doing without that vehicle? What exactly do we need to do?
Well, Mayor, to bring you up to date, we lost 2 vehicles.
Okay.
We had a gentleman run into one of our newer trucks, a 2015 F-150, and flipped it over. So now we're out 2 vehicles. We had the insurance company go out there last week to look at the brush truck. It was a 1996, but he said he'll do the best he can to give us the best for our insurance money. On the 2015, we're still waiting to hear from the adjuster. I haven't heard anything yet.
I mean, they're total loss, both of them?
Yes.
Okay, and the vehicle that burnt down, that was the roll-off?
No,
It was
it was a
what?
brush truck,
The brush truck?
right.
Okay, so what does a brush truck go for?
Mayor, it's a real old, it's a.
No, I
19
understand, but to replace it, what are you looking at to replace?
We're looking at least maybe 25 for the brush. And then for the 2015, I'm hoping that we get something close to what we paid for. And if we do what I had planned was to purchase a Ranger, if the money allows, I'll purchase a Ranger and give up the one that I have because it's too big for me. It's a, real long bed, and get something small so that the employees have the bigger truck. They can carry their shovels or whatever they need to.
Okay, so you're 25,000 is the cost for the 2015 for replacements?
Yes, 2025.
25,000, and then this one that you're talking about, we're looking at 20,000.
As far as money getting back or to replace it?
What are you thinking is going to be the gap between what gets paid back and, do we
Well,
have a
if we get-
sense?
If we get anything, 15,000, I think we're pretty lucky, because that's a very old vehicle. It's a 1996. But a new brush truck, complete, runs you close to 140,000,
The brush truck?
yes. Although I'm very fortunate to have a mechanic that's taking another old brush truck that we have and is replacing the body with the one that got burnt, because the body on, the cap was burnt, the front part of it, but the back part is still in real good condition, so we're gonna take the back and use it on an
This
older
is
truck.
the tractor is the one that you're
Right.
going to change? Okay, and that goes for 100,
40,000, close to
40,000.
140,000.
okay. So we definitely will not have enough, no matter what kind of
No.
insurance we get back? Okay, so
Just
something,
if we are lucky, we can purchase another truck, like an F-150 or a Ranger, if we get enough money, but not to get a brush truck.
okay, and we're getting set back on pickup because of that?
No, Mayor,
For the lack of-
believe
what
it
are
or
we
not,
doing?
we're not. No, we're compensating. The only that we have right now was the weather. We were right up to date, where we should be, and we're gonna be maybe a couple of days late to go to the southeast, and because of the weather. The weather did not permit us to go and pick up. It was just too muddy in some of the alleys.
Okay. We'll continue talking about that as we're looking at the financing and the monies. I think we need to make sure we've got the equipment at the sanitation departments. Okay. All right, any other questions for any other departments? All right, thank you. Moving on into public hearings, ordinances. It is A, conduct a public hearing and consider an ordinance in first reading for a conditional use permit to allow an apartment complex and property zone neighborhood commercial district, legally described as lots 21 and 24, block 32 in the San Juan Original Town Site subdivision located on the southwest corner of 6th Street and Lincoln Avenue, as requested by William Mejia. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mayor, Commission, good evening. Mr. William Mejia purchased the lots recently and desires to build an apartment complex in the property. He would like to build 8 apartments in a 2-story building. He is proposing 14 parking spaces, which exceed the city's parking requirements by 2 spaces. The entrance to the complex parking lot is proposed to be from 6th Street, near the downtown. The project will generate additional property taxes for the community. The project will also generate additional water, sewer, and garbage revenues, and also sales taxes from the tenants that will live there. During their meeting of October 20th, 2016, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval, subject to the conditions listed in your packet.
I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing at 5:49. Are there any members of the audience for or against? Go ahead and state your name for the record, sir.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Diga su nombre, por favor.
Mi nombre es William Mejía
Okay. Dígame. señor.
y estoy solicitando es un permiso, ¿verdad?, para construir un complejo de 8 apartamentos. Es en la calle Sexta, aquí en la ciudad de San Juan. Y pues como decía el señor Javier, son es de 2 pisos, 2 stories, y vamos a tener el estacionamiento alumbrado, va a tener barda, va a estar cercado, Y
¿Qué es el tamaño de los
de los apartamentos,
Apartamentos.
cada uno es de aproximadamente 900 square feet. Son 4 abajo y 4 arriba.
cuartos?
8.
Son de qué tantos cuartos cada departamento?
2 recámaras cada uno.
Okay, are there questions for Mr. Mejia? You've got him in,
Uh,
go ahead.
Do we have found, la fundación ya es empezada, ya tiene foundation ahí?
No.
Pero no
Empezar de
empieza
cero,
nada del proyecto.
de cero. Sí, apenas vamos a, digo, en caso que se apruebe, vamos a empezar con lo del
So, no ha
permiso.
empezado con nada todavía.
No, nada. Está vacío.
You need to come to the, please come forward. ¿Le permite, Mr. Mejía? Solamente, no sé si había acabado, Mr. Mejía. ¿Había otra cosa que dice? Okay. State your name for the record, please.
Edward Rodriguez, Mayor Commissioners, just wondering, what do you mean by a conditional use permit?
Cervantes.
In the zoning ordinance, you have some uses that are permitted by the code. So because this property is zoned neighborhood commercial, a lot of different businesses are allowed by code. So if somebody comes in for a small business, it's allowed, by right. But in the ordinance, there's also uses that are conditional. So they're allowed with conditions. So because an apartment complex for this zoning category is listed as a conditional use, he's having to go through this process.
Okay.
Because that's how it's listed in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, my other question, Mayor, is that he's having eight apartments. Usually nowadays, everybody's got 2 vehicles. So that means he's having 14 parking spaces. So that means he's gonna have off-street parking for people that don't have a parking space? That's my only question, Mayor.
Cervantes.
The parking ordinance requires 1.5 spaces for apartment. So we're just enforcing the code, and he's exceeding the code. If you want to revisit the code in the future, we can. In some cities, the parking requirements vary by the number of bedrooms. But in our ordinance, it's just 1.5 spaces for apartment, and it doesn't say by number of bedrooms. It's just each apartment 1.5 spaces. So he's complying with the code that we have today, and he's exceeding it with 2 spaces.
Now, according to the code, on other apartments in the city that meet code, they're in existence. Are we having problems? Are we having complaints on parking issues, anything like that? Have we?
I haven't heard anything recently, like those type of complaints.
Mr. Mejía.
El plano que está ahí como quiera vienen 16 parking lots, o sea que son 2 por cada apartamento.
And that's what you were asking, Mr. Rodriguez.
Sí, no son 14, son 16.
Son 16.
16.
Very good. I have a question, Mr. It does just across the street there is a construction taking place behind the laundromat. What is that?
I'm not sure. I wasn't aware of any construction there.
They've laid the slab.
I'm not sure. I have to look into that.
Where are the closest apartments to this place?
There's an apartment complex just west of this property. It's an older apartment complex. It must have been built probably in the 60s.
And there will be like an empty lot between those two?
No, it's
They'll be
it's the
adjacent?
property just west. If you can put
It'll be adjacent to it?
yeah, there's an existing apartment complex just west of this property,
Are we talking about the one next to General?
south of the dollar store.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Sorry,
the-
were you making
is
this
the-
a gated apartment?
Well, he's gonna have a buffer fence, but there is there is an existing apartment complex right here, just west of this property. But it's an older apartment complex. So, there are apartments in the area.
So if you built, one of the things that is one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from apartment complexes, and if you can just clarify what's going to happen on this one, at the corner on Sam Houston, and I'm not sure if it's Iowa or Kansas, but there is a apartment complex. Mr. Garcia's a street. I'm not sure what that is. Mr. Garcia back there. What is the street your house is on, Mr. Eddie Garcia? Iowa. Right at the corner of Sam Houston and Iowa, they put the bin. Yes. Okay. So there's a bin that we keep getting complaints from the people. Where will the trash bin be here, so it's not an unsightly, since we're so close to downtown?
Can you put it in the site plan? Site plan. Can you go down? He's proposing that to be right here, in the southwest corner of the
Is he
of the
going to have
property.
the fence buffering that area?
Yes.
The back and the west
Yes.
and the south?
Yes, he's proposing a buffer wall around the dumpster.
Okay.
Is it a cedar fence, or what kind of fences we looking at?
He's gonna have to have a buffer fence along the west side and the south side.
But what kind of fence?
An opaque, I think, está proponiendo cerca de madera, ¿verdad? He's proposing a wood fence, 8 feet in height.
Are there any other comments or questions from members of the public, for or against? All right, if not, there being none, anything else from the commission? I'd like to go ahead and close this public hearing at 5:58. Is there a motion for approval as recommended?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same side. Motion passes. Se le ha dado lo que ha pedido el conditional permit, sir. Va a estar trabajando con el Departamento de Planning and Zoning y sí le pido que cuando estén construidos, donde ha designado que se ponga la basura, que ahí se permanezca para que no se mire mal entre lo demás que está allí. Okay? Ándele, suerte. Item B, another public hearing, conduct a public hearing, yes.
I've got Mr. Paco Martinez here, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes.
Paco Sanchez, I'm sorry.
Okay, excuse us for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and call Mr. Sanchez forward, and this is, he comes from the State Representative Armando Martinez's office to talk to us about legislative agendas proposing and also to hear from the City of San Juan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for inviting me over.
Thank you for making the time, and make sure you say our greetings to Mr. Martinez as well.
I will
Representative.
definitely let the representative know that. And as the mayor said, my name is Paco Sanchez. I'm the legislative director for State Representative Armando Martinez, who represents the city of San Juan. And first off, the representative did want to apologize for not being able to make it today. He had a previously scheduled commitment, and he took off this afternoon, wasn't able to make it back. He was ready to come and present last week, but unfortunately that meeting was canceled. But he did want to let you all know that if you'd like him to come to the next meeting, he's more than happy to do that. He's very, proud and happy with the great working relationship that he has with the city. He looks forward to continuing this and representing you next session, in January, actually.
Now, and I know that we've had an opportunity to speak with him at different occasions, and
Yes,
I know
yes,
with the legislation coming into session, it's a great time to try to find out what could be available for the city of San Juan. One, what's going to be impacting the municipalities, and what can be done for the city of San Juan in anything that we may think by legislation.
Okay. No, well, I completely understand that. Just to kind of some background, that due to the recent elections, the Democrats did gain about 4 to 5 seats So it's about 100 members, Republican, 50 Democrats. So it does make it a little bit harder to work for that. But the representatives, I think his experience and his seniority have really shown through. And last session, he actually passed more bills than he had in the past. But one of the most important issues, and the mayor did kind of touch on, one thing that will impact the city is that we are going to come in with a bit of a budget shortfall. We're projected to come in with about $10.5 billion less in revenue than we did last session. This isn't due entirely to oil and gas industry. It's not due entirely to that. We've cut taxes extensively at the in the legislative through the House and the Senate. So that is going to limit us a bit, but we are going to focus on what they've told us the priorities are going to be: child protection, transportation projects, because we did have some of those constitutional amendments passed very recently, but they're only meant for current maintenance levels and congestion. So that is something that the rep is going to be taking a look at. Also, pensions will be an issue coming up this next session. The TRS Care Trust Fund, which is the healthcare plan for retirees. It's a pay-as-you-go system as opposed to the TRS plan. That's going to be in the deficit of over $1 billion. That's going to be something that we're going to have to look at. And the employee retirement system is facing some monetary issues. However, they are going to address that, but there may be a push for turning it from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan. We're not particularly in favor of that, but it's something that we're definitely going to have to look at in this session. As I did say, child welfare, family protective services, child protective services, the state was ordered by the courts to address this issue, and it's going to see a couple $100 million extra funding for new caseworkers, investigators, salary increases to social workers as well that work for the agencies. Border security is also going to take an issue. There was $800 million in funding provided last session. There was also an intelligence center that was created in McAllen. This session, DPS came in and requested $1.2 billion for border security issues. They may not get the full amount, and with the recent elections with President-elect Trump, possibly the federal government may come in and provide some funding, so that may be, depending on how you look at it, that may be a silver lining to this election at the very least. And one thing that is going to be very important for the representative is border infrastructure and development. Delays on international bridges. For every minute of delay on each of our ports of entry, that leads to an economic loss of about $116 million. If you take that throughout the whole year for 2017, with the current infrastructure, that's estimated to be a loss of about 54,000 jobs, $6 billion in output, $3 billion in wages, and $1.2 billion in tax revenue. So it's not only the bridges that are impacted, it's the local surrounding communities as well. So we do think that that's a very important thing for the state to focus on. And the representative in the past, he has worked on EDC laws that have empowered certain cities to provide transportation projects based off of some border crossings and issues like that, and that's something that we're definitely always on the lookout if there's other ideas and plans for that. We've built a very good relationship with the EDC interest groups, and we've really been the only office that has been able to pass legislation amending that code. They're very tight-reined with how they do it, but the representative was able to pass a section dealing primarily with border communities, and that's given us some leeway and stuff that we've worked on before in the past. And just to kind of highlight some of the bills that he's already filed, yesterday was the pre-filing, was the beginning of that period for us. Representative Martinez filed 6 bills, HB 46, which would establish a law school here in the Valley, HB 54, which would raise the average Texas teacher salary to the national average, as well as certain full-time librarians, counselors, and nurses. Also had HB 88, which to me is an important bill. It's a foster care sick leave bill. Currently, if you have a biological child or an adopted child and your employer provides a sick leave policy, you can actually leave and you're allowed to go and take care of that child. But if it's a foster child, the employer has the option of not allowing you to leave, and that's just something that we don't see as being right, especially with our focus that we're seeing now for child protection and how backlogged the foster care system is. He also does have a transportation infrastructure fund this is a pre-existing fund for counties that see increased energy development. Your Midland, Odessa's, down here in the valley also from fracking and oil development. The maintenance costs for the roads in those areas are very high, and a lot of times they fall on the municipalities. This fund was a way to sort of reimburse them for that. We've been working on creating a new 5th category of grants for that program based on the county's border crossings. That would provide some more relief, especially here locally, for heavy trucks to come through and tear up roads and things like that.
I wanted also,
Yes, Mayor.
I know that he's the vice on the transportation
Yes,
committee?
he is currently the
Vice
vice chair of transportation, and he is expecting to be back on the committee. We don't know in which capacity, but we do believe he will be on transportation.
And I know he does very well for us in earmarking, or rather finding monies
Yes.
to, being on the MPO, I do want you to let him know that we're having a workshop on Thursday to
Yes.
continue the discussion about the merger of the 2 MPOs, or the 3 MPOs.
Yes.
And we're hoping that, we continue to see the legislature, legislative body representatives continue to support that and talk to their respective elected officials. But I think it's very important, we are also finding the monies that we're needing for projects such as the interchange that we keep hearing about, which is a very big impact here, because if you look at the growth and the rate of the traffic that is taking place there when we're in rush hour, we actually do have a very stagnant flow. And one of the things I know that we've talked to him about, and from our perspective, because we're right at the interchange and
Yes.
getting our people in and out, would be the continued look, if there's any other monies other than what comes through the monies that are allocated through the different categories, that there be some monies available, or that we have any kind of impact by being there to ask or request, whether we merge or not merge within this next coming year. To keep that in mind, I think that's very important. And then on the lines of transportation, we do have 80% of the luxury vehicle sales in the city of San Juan. Those vehicles are purchased and taken out of here. It brings in the folks that come in to visit for the purchasing. Is there anything that legislatively that you've been able to see that might bring in some extra revenues for the city, in particular because of that type of circumstance on sales of vehicles?
Yes, there have been some kind of economic development plans that are based around, I just personally haven't seen one for luxury vehicles. I've read some different things in some of the articles that we read to kind of bone up on our knowledge. But if there is something that you all would look at, that's definitely, we'd be willing to work with you all and look at that and propose something. I know the representative would still have final say, but he is always willing to work with his cities.
And finally, there's something through TML about the capping on the valuations of the ad valorem taxes.
Oh, yes, there were a couple of pieces of legislation that were pre-filed yesterday that I went through and I looked at, and there have been some proposals that would cap it, yes.
Some of them are definitely we've been told to oppose because they would be very detrimental to us.
Yes, I think that was part of what I touched on, where the budget, we've reduced revenue, and essentially we've cut taxes so far, and as a consequence of that, we push the expenses down here to the municipal and lower levels, and it's just a heavy burden, I know, for you all to really take on.
So in that respect, if legislation is coming, if there's anything that we can do through as a city to be able to write a letter
Yes.
or be present in any hearings, please let him know that we would be ready to do that.
Oh, definitely. I'll make note of that, and if you all ever have anything you'd like to speak with the rep on, I mean, you speak with him quite regularly, but our office is always open to anybody that will come in here. Just phone call, letter, it doesn't matter what it is. Just always let us know.
Very good. Are there any questions? I really appreciate you being here with us tonight, and I do want to follow up on one or two of those in more specific basis, and maybe we can formulate and bring it back if the representatives comes back.
Yes, no, definitely. And before I finish, I'd like to bring up one last piece of
Sure.
legislation. been a focus of the representatives for a number of years. In about 2007, he created, or he authorized the creation of commuter rail districts within Cameron, Hidalgo, and Willacy counties. And Hidalgo County did create one. A rail feasibility study was looked at. And we've been working on, the representative has been working on creating a regional transit authority, or an RTA, and this would provide regional collaboration and planning for mass transit, bus and rail. And I've been working in particular with a lot of our municipal providers to try and get their support on that bill. But it's not a taxing entity, doesn't have that power in there. That's not something that we're looking at right now. But it's at least providing a planning mechanism, something where we can look at possibly in the future seeing if there is some viability for rail within our area. We know it's not something that would happen overnight or even in a couple of years, it may be down the road, but if we don't take the steps now and have the vision for it, it's not something that would come at it'll come to the valley at a much higher cost.
Very good, and I will get a stop in San Juan for that
Yes.
item.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you for being here present, and make sure, from behalf of all of us here in the city of San Juan, thank Mr. Martinez for, Representative Martinez for all the work he does and for the great representation he provides to us.
Yes, well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mission. I appreciate it again. Any
Thank
other
you.
time, please let us know.
Thank you very much. I'd like to proceed with the next item, and that was the conduct a public hearing and consider an ordinance in the first reading for the special use permit for a drive-through portable food concession stand and for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption in a property zone general business district C2, legally described as west 132.37 feet, north 120 feet out of Lot 5, Block 5, John Klausner subdivision located at 4101 North Veterans Boulevard, as requested by Art Ellie's Drive-Thru LLC.
Yes, Ms. Edina Reyes, owner of Ellis Drive-Thru LLC, is applying for a special use permit to operate a drive-through business, a portable food concession stand, and for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption. Ms. Reyes is renting the building and the portable food concession stand from the property owner. The drive-through business has been in this location for several years, and the portable food concession stand was established at the site back in 2013 after approved by the City Commission. The proposed days and hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. and Fridays and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The business will generate additional sales taxes for the community. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously, subject to the conditions listed in your packet. It's a new operator, and that's why they're having to go through the process.
All right, I'd like to open this at 6:13. Are there any members of the audience for or against? Any members of the audience that have any statements for or against? Members of the commission? Okay, so we're just duplicating, they meet everything as far as restrooms, ADA compliance, and everything?
Everything, yes.
Parking and all of that, is that correct?
Building and fire codes, everything, yes.
Okay. If there are no other statements or questions, I'd like to go ahead and close this at 6:14. Is there a motion for approval as
So moved.
presented? Is there a second?
Second.
Who second that, please?
Maldonado.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Under item C, consider preliminary and final plat approval of the proposed eCamp Village subdivision being a 4.01 acre tract of land out of east 1/2, north 20 acres out of Lot 11, Block 8, John Klausner subdivision located alongside of Nolana Avenue, approximately 1,000 feet east of the Raul Longoria, as requested by the Salinas Engineering and Associates. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Ms. Lynette Garza is the owner of this property, and she's proposing to subdivide a portion of her 4.8 acre property to build a home for her and her family. Most of the front of the property facing Nolana is proposed to be preserved for commercial purposes, but she has no desires to subdivide that portion of the property at this time. Ms. Garza is requesting a variance to allow the residential lot to have 26 feet of frontage to a public street as opposed to the 60 feet as required by the zoning ordinance. The purpose of the variance request is to preserve as much of the commercial land as possible along Nolana Avenue for future businesses. During the meeting of October 20th, 2016, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision, but denied the variance request.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and open this at 6:15 for public hearing. Are there any members of the audience for or against?
Actually, this is not a public hearing item, but the applicants
Oh, I
are,
gotcha.
the family is here and the engineer is here in case you have questions for them.
Okay, so this is not, this is only for approval of the plat, is that correct?
Yes, it's not a public hearing, but the applicants are here in case you have questions for them.
Okay, so it's only here before us for approval of the plat?
Yes,
Not
but
the
there is a variance that needs to be decided on.
On the, but on the item listed, doesn't talk about a variance.
It's in your presentation
I
that they're
understand.
requesting a variance. So granting or not granting the variance affects the layout of the subdivision.
Well, I know that they denied it, and on the background on that, they asked questions regarding the length of it, is that correct?
Yeah.
Typically, they would have to put a public road, would they?
No.
Can we see
Is
that, where that's what they're proposing on that variance?
This is Ms. Garza's entire property is all of this. But she's only subdividing the orange at this time, which is this. And then they're planning to subdivide this in the future as they get like a business wanting to go in there. So right now, they just want to build a house back here, and they just want a private entrance to the house. But the ordinance requires 60 feet of frontage to a public street. So for them to comply with the ordinance, this strip, which will be a private road going to the house, will need to be 60 feet in width, and they're proposing 26 feet. And the reason for the variance request is they're trying to preserve as much commercial land as possible. Like,
Well, the thing,
right, so,
if you develop that commercially anyway, you're going to have an access,
yes.
because the size, it's a big size.
Yes, this could be like a commercial plaza in the future, or it could be like two fast food restaurants. There's room for 2 fast food restaurants or a bigger commercial plaza. So the applicant, she just needs a private driveway to get to the back to
Well-
the house. So that's why they don't want to provide the 60 feet, they just want the 26 feet to get back there and preserve this for commercial purposes.
Well, I still think, I mean, if this had been a developed commercial area, what would you have required?
Commercial property, they just need to have the access to a public street,
Right.
yes.
So, I mean, if they dedicate the 60, I mean, they can still build their road
It's
until
it's not a dedication, it's the frontage of the lot. It's not a
I
dedication.
understand,
yeah.
but this is what I'm saying.
Yes,
If they go ahead and dedicate the 60 feet, they don't have to develop it at this point. They can open up the part that they need to be able to access their.
It's just, it affects, if the variance is not granted, this will be 60 feet wide, the entrance to the house. So
For us.
30-some feet will be lost for a potential business.
Maybe lost in the sense of building, but when you gain the ingress and egress for developing that area,
No, it will be like.
I mean,
it will be-
that's my opinion.
It will be part of the residential lot. So it eventually becomes independent from the commercial property.
What do you have on the other side?
To the north,
No, on this side, is this the east?
over here,
By the property, not over there, by the property. What's next to the property?
right here, there's a
Yeah.
house. There's a house there. And there's a house over here too.
Now, if we were to approve this, Mr. Cervantes or Chief Garza, would you have trouble getting in case of an emergency?
Our normal access roads are 20 feet.
20 feet, so it wouldn't be an issue?
But if we do approve this, we're basically setting precedents, right?
This-
Pretty much,
this actually, this
if we
variance-
approve this, instead of, 60, and if we approve for 26, well, pretty much we're
Actually,
city residents.
a similar variance like this was approved 2, 3 years ago. It was a very similar situation, and the commission granted the variance.
And
But I think
did they
it
build
was,
this?
no, it wasn't, they didn't do it, they didn't finish the subdivision, but the variance was granted.
They haven't finished that subdivision.
No, it wasn't completed.
We also approved something similar to this, if I'm not mistaken, just north of Nolana. There's a car lot, there's a business in the front.
That's the one,
We approved for.
that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
The
Yeah, for
variance
homes to be
was
built in the
granted,
back.
but they didn't finish the process.
Okay.
Yes.
But it had been approved.
Yes.
So that was the issue why they denied the planning and zoning,
The
right?
Planning and Zoning Commission, they just felt that the subdivision needed to comply with all the rules and regulations. So that's why they denied the variance.
That street in Alana is a two-lane right there where that property is, right?
That's correct.
But in the future, that's going to become a five-lane?
Yes, and the right-of-way is in place for that.
For the widening.
Yes, the right-of-way is already dedicated for the future widening of Nolana Avenue. I don't know if you want to let the engineer address.
You want to go ahead and step up, sir?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the commission. My name is David Salinas. I represent Mr. and Mrs. Garza. What makes this property unique is that the property is developed all the way around. Unfortunately, you have a strip of land along Nolana that's commercial, and that's what the city wants to see is commercial. They have a residentially zoned property in the back. She has no access to that property in the back except from Nolana. The rest of the property remains commercial. So they own that property as well. They're not ready to plat it. They're waiting for investors. They might do it themselves. But in the meantime, they want to build their home on lot 1, which is what we're showing. To the left, to the bottom, and to the right are already developed properties. So there's no other way in or out of this property except through that strip of land. That strip of land is 250 feet long. Normally, a 60-foot lot would run from Nolana all the way to the back. The way they're seeing it, they'd like to preserve as much of that yellow area, which is commercial, to develop commercially. So it's not really a road, it is access to the lot, very much like you have your own home. You have your house and you have a concrete driveway probably to the front of your house. That's not any different. It's not a road, it's part of the lot. All they're asking for here today is not to have to develop the full 60 feet because in their view, it's a waste of commercial property, is what it is. All they need is enough width to get in and out and to allow emergency vehicle access. That's all they're asking.
Now, Chief, when it comes to the identifying the places for purposes of fire and that kind of thing, you've got folks in the front and folks in the back. To identify, would that have to be just a dedicated driveway because it is behind a property? And how would you find it if you've got commercial lots in the front and the back? Would it have to be a
We would probably
dedicated
have
street?
to distinguish it probably by numericals, Mayor. It would have to be, but as far as them meeting the access road, the width, they're in compliance. Or it's not developed yet, but would be in compliance. The only way to identify is going to be either, a lot of times when we get some of these plazas, we identify them in numericals. Like that we can identify if it's to the front or to the back.
And what was the width you needed? I'm sorry.
20 feet.
20 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they need a,
They're within, what's transpiring out of the subdivision, they're looking into developing another subdivision which is to the east. I think they looked at one point into installing a fire hydrant,
that's what I was going to ask.
but the line is on the north side of Nolana.
So do they need to put one here?
They're willing to comply once they establish the business, because you're looking at $35,000 price tag for that hydrant. They're willing to comply with that when they establish their plaza. See, and that other one that Commissioner Maldonado mentioned, or Commissioner Ramirez, what was hampering there, they had a 10-foot access. They had the business in front, a house in the back, and they wanted to add an additional house in the back. It didn't transpired, it didn't happen, but we did require fire protection for the simple reason that the drive was only 10 feet wide. I think it was even less than 10 feet, but it didn't develop.
And if they want to develop, they would have to come back and,
Correct.
so that's not really done.
No, ma'am.
anymore. So it's gone.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, are there any other members of the audience that have any comments for or against? Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and close this at 6:26.
You want to say something? Hold on, Mayor. I think he wanted to say something.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Peña. The property is given to my wife, handed down by her dad, and that's where she was raised. And now he gave us that plot of land, and all we're asking for is the same chance to do for our kids. That's not a road by any means, and we don't plan on building apartments back there or anything. It's just a modest house to raise our girls. Like they already stated a couple times, if we do it 60-foot wide, it's just for our personal vehicles. It would be a waste of.
Well, my thought is this, if you approve 60, do they have to build it out at 60? Can they build it out at a portion, not encompassing 60, so that it's already there?
But once we subdivide it, that 60 into the private home part, it'll be lost to the commercial part. We won't be able to put it back into the commercial part in the future, because it's already subdivided into the house part. That's why we want to go with a narrow, for driveway purposes, you don't need 60-foot of driveway.
And I guess what I'm saying, because that street in front of you is going to become 5 lanes, okay? So that it's going to develop, but you want to make it marketable, you want to make it marketable. That if you're going to have development already all around you, if you were, depending how you're going to do a layout on that, because it's a big piece of property in the front, it'll be really good for you if you were to have that street available for entrance, egress, and ingress because of the restrictions that will be put, because once they develop that, there'll be some restrictions as to how many you can get to come into properties or not. And so what I'm saying is that if you were, and could we allow them to dedicate the 60, in the long run, it's going to help you, but not necessarily built out 60, but built out a road comparable to the 20, knowing you got 60 put to a side for that purposes. Well, I'm asking actually the city on that one.
The variance is not granted. This strip will need to be 60 feet wide. And so it's going to be a private road in 60 feet of property. So it's just, it goes away as commercial. You cannot be part of the commercial property. It goes away as a commercial. They're supposed to be, this lot is supposed to be independent of this lot. They become independent lots. So you cannot really connect them unless you replat the whole thing in the future.
Well, when we have done properties that, because our requirement is that the 300 feet in the front becomes commercial along a main thoroughfare, correct?
Yeah, in this case, it's 250. And the commercial line is running right where they're proposing this line. That's the division between the commercial zoning and the residential.
So we're not doing the 300 feet anymore?
When Nolana was zoned commercial, it was 250 to the south and 250 to the north.
Okay.
Mr. Peña, were your intentions to block off that entrance for privacy, or was it going to be open?
As far as what, as far as the
Yeah,
driveway?
as far as the entrance to your house.
In the very front bottom of the
Yes.
street, it's just gonna be an open driveway,
You're gonna
just
have an
like
open
anybody else's driveway. Like I said, we're just trying to conserve as much commercial property, because frontage property, because it's just a driveway. That's senseless to use. I know it's code and stuff, but to use that many feet, 60 foot for a vehicle that's only 8.5 foot wide, I understand, the chief said 20 feet for emergency vehicles. You're talking about 3 times the width that we'll never use. It's just gonna be a driveway.
Right, that's my concern, that if it would be 60 feet and you have access to it, to the public. Anybody's gonna drive in, thinking that it's a public road, and you're gonna have people going in. As a family man.
Oh, I
you
see,
know
like
what
a
I'm saying?
fence or something, it'd be like a gate?
Right, I
got
would
you.
hate to have it that way and have cars coming in thinking it's a public road. And that's my concern. I mean, I agree with you with the 2026, but we'll see what the commission.
Just adjacent to that property is my brother-in-law's property, and he has a driveway right there, as a matter of fact, right where ours is, right next to, his driveway to his backyard. And we've been using that same driveway to go back, and people do go in and do a U-turn and go back out, but not because they think it's a street, it's just since Nolana is so small right now, and they leave the neighborhood, or they come in from Raul Longoria, and they want to turn around, that's the easiest spot to turn around. It's a lot of land, so they just pull in, bust a U-turn, and go back out. But as far as anybody, driving down there, it's an open field. You can see all the way to the back. There's nothing back there right now.
And Commissioner, to answer your question, when that property develops commercially, the commercial developer will be required to build a fence buffer along those property lines. So they're gonna have to, it's gonna be fenced sooner or later, but it'll happen when they develop it commercially. He'll be responsible to build a fence. So it's gonna get fenced. And by the time the property develops commercially, you'll never see the house. It'll be in the back. So the argument is, why do I need so much land just to get in and out of my lot? This is kind of different because everything around him is already developed. He doesn't have any other way to get in or out. And nobody does either. It's strictly private. It's not a public. Now, I'm sure when they develop it commercially, they'll probably build a central curb cut into Nolana that'll get into the plaza area. Then you have the plaza, and then you're gonna have in the back of the plaza the fence that'll buffer his house from the commercial.
So how much land will be in the house? How
How many square feet is that house? You said at the last meeting it was.
It's just a modest
house, how much land will be on where the house is gonna be sitting?
1.8
It's
acres.
1.8 acres total.
The house part, and that
Yeah.
leaves almost the same amount for the commercial.
It's a big residential lot.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Okay, now on this item, I would definitely recommend to approve it as the planning and zoning looked at it, and I think you're saying they did it in two separate, did they do it in two separate movements of approval and then
No, they
the
just.
variance, or?
They just approved denied the variance request.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve as presented by
So
the?
moved.
Okay.
With approval of the 26 with a variance.
Granting the variance?
Granting the variance.
Okay, so that's it's not as presented then.
Okay, motion as presented by Mr. Cervantes with approval of the variance.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Under item C, consider preliminary and final plat approval of the proposed E-Camp Village. Is this the same one? Okay. Under appointments, A, consider removal and appointments of the Board of Members to the City of San Juan Planning and Zoning Board. Back in 2013, we had an ordinance to follow the charter. The charter calls that members of the body who have been appointed have to represent the three districts. You all appointed Mr. Agapito. Agapito was replacing Mr. Morales, who represents the north side. So therefore, he does not qualify as per the charter. So the member that replaces Mr. Morales has to be from the north side, north of Sioux. And so I'd like to go ahead and recommend
You all, Mayor?
the majority, those of you that voted for it. So I'd like to go ahead and ask that we remove Mr. Agapito Vargas because he's not qualified under the charter and appoint Ignacio Almaguer.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is a motion.
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. You can't have Agapito. Is there a nomination?
I make a nomination.
Go ahead.
To put
Is that a motion?
a motion, Jorge Zambrano
Where does he live?
on the north side. So,
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Motion passes. Congratulations to Mr. Zambrano. And congratulations on his being appointed at a school district, him and his brother Jesse. Under B, consider removal and appointing of the Parks and Recreation Board. This was put in by Mr. Commissioner Ramirez and Commissioner Maldonado.
There is, I had placed it as a
Okay.
removal and appointment because apparently Mr. Nick Salazar is now an employee. So there's a vacancy, should be a vacancy. He was on the board.
I don't see his name on the,
Right, it's no longer on there, but he was on there. So if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Patrick Willingham, there's a vacancy. So instead of a removal, I'll just make a motion to appoint Mr. Rick Martinez.
it's been moved for Mr. Martinez. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Under C, consider removal and appointment of the board members of the San Juan Economic Development Corporation. Jesse Ramirez and Commissioner Maldonado, you all tabled this. Is there a motion to remove from table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
On this one, Mayor, Ben, we have a new EDC director now?
I know that he was interviewed and a recommendation was made. I'm assuming that.
It has been accepted.
Accepted,
They're working on the contracts.
What's the gentleman's name?
His name is Oscar Cuellar.
On that one, Mayor, you know, after he, I guess if he accepts his, you know, his contract and so forth, and, you know, I would like to talk to him and talk to some of the members of the board. Anyways, I think for the most part right now, everything seems to be going all right. So I'll go as a motion for no action.
All right. You don't have to make a motion. There'll be no action, so it'll be removed.
No action.
Yes. Under item D, consider removal and appointment of the member of the City of San Juan Commission to the San Juan Economic Development Corporation Board as ex officio. That would be me. And that is Commissioner Ramirez and Commissioner Maldonado.
Same, Mayor. On that one, just want to wait to talk to the new director, talk to some of the members. Okay, no action on this item.
I mean, if you need to do it, do it.
No action right now, Mayor.
Under discussion and action, A, discussion and possible action on increasing the minimum base pay rate for our City of San Juan employees and any future city employees to a base rate of $10 an hour to meet the federal regulations and salary requirements, whichever is greater. This is Commissioner Ramirez and Commissioner Maldonado. Go ahead.
Mayor, on this one, in commission, you know, a couple of meetings back, I had brought up, you know, raising hourly wage. I had talked
For the
about-
contractors.
Yeah, I talked about contract labor, you know, and you made a couple of valid points here on, you know, my thing on that one is how to pinpoint, how do we keep control of that? But now going to our employees, our city employees, you know, and I'm very big, I mean, it's easier said than done to say, you know, I would love to give everybody a raise. We're looking at where the other cities around us are, where we're at. You know, even at $10, which I'm hoping we can do for our employees. I mean, that's $400 a week at a full-time pay, 40 hours. You know, I try to do the math. Even
And what
when-
math did you
Even, as in, the math as in, okay, well, right now, what is the going living, I mean, you know, our living expenses, you know, rent, mortgage, you know, light, water, so forth. So, but I need, Ben, if you can give us maybe, I need figures. You know, I'm not gonna I need figures. You know, we have 200+ employees. Who's under $10? Who's over? I mean, give me, you know, some numbers so we can, and give everybody a copy of those figures. You know, maybe we get with Mr. Garza, see, I mean, if it's doable, what? But first things first, I need to get those figures, those numbers. If you can just, and give everybody a copy of whatever you find, but I need to know, out of our employees, who is making less than $10 an hour. If we do a move like this and we do grant it, is it gonna affect us? How bad? What? I need to look at that. So,
What is the scope of what you're looking at?
$10 an hour?
No, but, I mean, what exactly?
Well, I mean, again, right now, do you have off the top of your head, Ben, we have 200+ employees. How many employees of those are making under $10 an hour?
That, the last time we did the study, or that we look into some numbers like that because of the new, what do you call the FLSA rule? We looked at about 20 employee, maybe 21. Ms. Cordero, you recall that? Was under the $10 an hour, was it 20 or 21, 25?
20.
It was about 20 or 25 employees.
Out of the 200 plus whatever.
Right.
Average, do you know what they're at $9? They're under $9, what are?
Nobody at this point is under $9 an hour.
Exactly.
Nobody's under 9?
No.
No.
We're at 9, I think the median was at
946 or something like that.
50, yeah, something like that.
About 9:33.
You know, I have told them all the time, I'm in favor of always helping the employees, but, we had a budget and we needed to make sure that we could put in that budget. I have always stressed that if we got 21 or 25 employees earning less than $10, we talk about morale, that why is morale down? Well, I feel that if you go and give $10 to, which would be an increase of pay for 21 or 25 employees, you're going to have your morale down because we're not doing a lateral improve. We need to take everybody in consideration, and if we're going to go to $10, we got to go laterally because it's not fair for people that have been here for 20 years or 15 years, and somebody comes for 2 years and is already making $10 when they're making only $12 or $13.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with what you're saying.
No, I know
Commissioner,
you don't.
but I know.
One at a time, please.
I was
Allow
trying
him to finish, Mr. Maldonado.
And yesterday there was a meeting in the St. John's Parish Council, and they already announced that we were going to $10, that we had 3 votes. I think so that's a walking quorum, and also that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act because less than 24 hours, this statement was already made. So I'm surprised that.
Well, I'm not making a motion to pass anything. What I want is figures. Give me figures. You know what? And give us figures on, we have 200+ employees. Give us a breakdown on department by department, who's making what, who's on salary, who's hourly, and we'll take it from there.
I think as you look at, the real simplistic way to look at that is just give those that don't have $10, get them to 10. That's very simplistic thinking.
Well, I mean, but it's.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is, let's say that we have 20. Does it solve it? And of course, I understand what Commissioner Garcia, because I heard the same thing, that that decision had already been made. And they talk about it's only going to cost the city $24,000. That's not even coming close to what, if you want to make it equitable. One of the things that I have been harping upon in this commission for some time, the members here and those previous, was a study to be done. And I've spoken to the past city managers, to Ms. Cordero, and I've talked about a study. Finally, I think there's something coming forward to make it equitable for the rest of the folks. Because what happened was that when we did a study back in 2007, 2008, it was done so there would be a grade, which means that as you knew that if you were here 3 years, you would be here. If you were here 5 years, you would be at this pay. And that makes it fair because when you go ahead and do what you're proposing, and I think you're proposing, is that just make everybody 10, and now we can announce to the whole world the city of San Juan pays $10 an hour. That the rest of the folks who have been here maybe 4 years are at 10 for wherever they started. That's not equal to them. That's not fair to them. So if you look at that simplistically, then I think that it doesn't reach what you're trying to do. Now, if you look at how many hourly we have, the majority of the employees in San Juan are hourly. The effect of the new law that's coming in is actually making the department heads change some people who are salaried into hourly. So we're going to add more people into hourly. If you take the effect, which effect are you going to take? That everybody be given $1 more because it's $1 raised from the people at 9 to 10? And what would that calculation mean if you gave it to everybody across the board?
And again, Mayor, now, yes, if somebody's been here 10 years and they're making $11, I have a problem with it. okay? But that's why I want to look at numbers. Let me look at it, give me a breakdown, send it to the commission, we'll take it from there. You know?
I just don't know what the scope he wants, but that's fine. I think I'm not sure what he's asking for.
I know where you're at, Mayor. I know, it's hard, but again, we'll take it step by step, baby steps.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that I have asked and
And I would-
still am
and I
asking,
still want to help out the employees that have been here 5, 10.
we have to.
We have to.
But we have to be able to afford it, sir.
Sure, exactly.
The
But-
city of
but-
San Juan does not pay anybody
but
under $9.
Again, Mayor,
so
don't,
that-
don't jump the gun.
I'm not jumping the
Don't get
gun.
too,
This is not the first time,
you
and
know,
I can do whatever I want
Just,
when I represent what I'm telling you. And if that is, I'm adamantly saying that you cannot run the city to the ground by doing something that you haven't thought about, that you're throwing out there, that people are saying has already passed.
well, again, Mayor, that's.
You know,
I
a
don't
3-2
I don't
vote, how
know-
does that happen?
I
How
don't
does
know what
somebody
you've
talk
heard.
about
I
that
don't care
already?
what you've heard. Give me numbers, Ben. Let's move on.
I'm not going to move on. And so I think what needs to happen, when you do that, Ben, apparently you must understand what they're saying, then you need to look at, because your responsibility is to be able to make sure that we're not going to be laying people off.
Well, believe
in a
me,
few-
though, I mean, I will.
I
call
don't
them.
want to lay people off.
Of course not, but I will call them again tomorrow, follow up. This is exactly what I want.
Please,
I mean, I'm
define
gonna
it.
follow up.
Define
know?
it. And please don't put it back on the agenda unless you know what's going to happen, what's going to be doing. Here's the second time that we look at this. Well,
I
now
still
in
have
a different
question,
version.
ma'am. Mr. Willingham or Mr. Jaime, what is the salary for seasonal employees? How much do they get paid?
There are hourly rates that I've seen in the budget
So
that
what's
I've
the
been given. Somewhere around $9.
Somewhere around
At the
$9.
low end, it's 8 and change, and the high end, is about 12.
Based on what? You said depending on,
There's a little bit of a raise if they've been with us a season or more. When they return, we hire them at a higher rate.
So
Slightly
some
higher.
seasonal employees can be getting paid more than our regular employees. And I think that's the problem. I think that's what we need to fix. If we have seasonal employees getting paid more than our regular employees, that's an issue for me.
So what do you want to do on this one, sir? You're going to move to table or no action?
no action?
Let's move on to item B. Consider the committee's recommendation for the employee Christmas party. Ms. Arjona.
Mayor, Commissioners, on the, as requested on the, couple of minutes ago, we redid the survey. This time around, there was 160 participants, of which the majority decided to go with a bonus of $45 bonus. We're looking at people that actually went for the Christmas evening banquet of 38, 39 for half a day off. Other, as listed, was higher bonus or banquet and bonus, was at 28, and the actual bonus for the $45 bonus was at 55 employees.
Give them what they've asked for.
Okay, Mayor.
I don't think you need to have an action because you already designated that money.
It's
Is that
45?
correct?
It was 45 bucks?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Under contractuals, A, consider the selection and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract agreement for the bond counsel services. Is there a motion to remove from the table?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez or Mr. Arjona.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, on the last meeting, we tabled this item. I've got the bond council. We have the list here from Norton Rose, Winstead from the San Antonio, Texas, and Bracewell LLP from San Antonio, Texas. We went out for a request for qualification for the bond council services to manage refunding of bonds and new monies. And I mentioned the three qualified submitted, and we're waiting for your recommendation.
Right, at the last meeting, I also mentioned that a member of the Fulbright made contact through email with me prior to the opening of the bids. I did report that to Ms. Gonzalez. And Ms. Gonzalez, you looked at our purchasing requirements and what you have written on that. Cantu, Arnold Cantu.
Our policy states, and so does state purchasing policy state, that when you go out for sealed proposals, you're not supposed to have any contact with the commission or any city staff member.
Take the penalty?
Well,
doing so?
their proposals are supposed to be disqualified.
Disqualified. So you wouldn't even have opened, you would have,
Well, I would have never known if I hadn't opened it.
no, the proposal itself.
I didn't open it from the email, where he sent it through the email.
The proposal was sent to you through email.
Right.
Okay, and
I-
then?
Then they resubmitted it 2 days later as a sealed proposal. But they had contacted the commission or the mayor, and they were not supposed to, because in the qualifications, it clearly states, do not contact mayor, commissioners, or staff.
And did you open that email?
No, the email came to me, I did not open up.
No, the
what-
second one, the one that was sent to the mayor.
That's the
Came
one that
to
I
me.
saw.
That's the one?
That's the one that I saw, but I did not open their proposal.
The proposal.
No, I clearly called and told them I would not open it because it was illegal to do it. It's not ethical, okay, and I didn't do it.
And then they submitted the hard copy.
Then they submitted a hard copy.
What did Mr. Villalobos say that? Did he say that that disqualifies him?
Mr. Villalobos didn't address it to me after our meeting.
So you haven't spoken to him in
No.
reference to this issue?
No, he has not gotten back to me.
But you, Mr. Arjona?
No, sir.
For bond counsel, I'd like to recommend Winstead from San Antonio. Make that a motion.
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I'd like to motion to go with Fulbright.
Aye.
Second.
Discussion, I believe that you're appointing someone that's disqualified and should not be considered as the bond counsel.
Well, according to Mr. Villalobos, I mean, it doesn't disqualify them.
When did he say that?
I mean, last time we spoke with him.
When? He didn't say that on the record.
Yeah, he did. The last meeting we had in reference to this issue.
I didn't hear him say that. He
He
said he was
did.
going to look
We
into it.
need to check the record.
Well, I say we continue with the motion, let it pass. I mean, we can always come back, and if
You can't
Mr.
come back.
Villalobos.
You can't come back. You got to move on this. But that's fine. You want to put someone who's disqualified, go for it. It's been moved and second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Consider reviewing the bond options and authorizing the city and First Southwest, a division of Hilltop Securities, to begin a process to obtain the City of San Juan's financial contribution at present to the financial plan and the method of sale and appointment of the underwriter to close the transaction. Mr. Arjona.
Yes, Mayor, we have Mr. Chris Vela here to presentation, and if there's any questions on on Mr. Vela.
Here, we're talking about the underwriter, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the underwriter would come from the same group that we,
Yeah, but prior to the underwriter, Mayor, first of all, my name is Chris Vela with First Southwest Financial Advisors to the city. For the record, these are the updated numbers as a result of the latest volatility round in the bond market. And you can see that we're at $91,000 on an average annual and $930,000 on the total gross savings. Now, the action that we need tonight is we need to approve the plan of finance. We need to approve the method of sale and approve the underwriters.
okay, and the method of sale would be what, sir?
Negotiated was,
Okay, and the underwriter to be appointed from the group?
that I leave up to the city and to the staff.
Okay,
There was 3 proposals that they received.
no, yes. And that would be the ones that are listed here? Would be the same ones, Ms. Gonzalez, or what? Okay, I'd like to nominate Winstead. I would like to move for Winstead.
Not, Winstead is the bond attorney.
I'm sorry?
For underwriters.
Underwriter?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
There was 3 underwriters. It was Stifel, it was Frost, and it was First Tennessee. I'm sorry? First Tennessee, yes.
Okay, then who do you recommend?
I mean, after speaking with Mr. Vela, I mean, he's saying that all of them, I mean, he recommended that a lot of them are capable. So whatever you decide, I mean, that's okay for us.
Any one of them?
Any one of them. Who was the first one?
It's Frost,
Frost and,
Stifel, and then FTN.
is there a motion to put Frost as the underwriter? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
We'll
Thank you.
proceed, Mayor, and we're looking for a pricing like around the 13th of December and a closing and we will contact the bond attorneys. It's imperative that the bond attorneys pre-file this transaction because of the shortness of time, so that would be early December, so that we can close. Normally it takes about 30 days, so if they pre-file, we can shorten up the process to about 2 weeks. So they need to take advantage of that time so that we can close by the 29th because of the bank qualified status of the paper that needs to be closed before the end of the year.
Very good. And Ms. Gonzalez, you can tell Fulbright, Mr. Cantu, that he needs to make contact with the appropriate people.
And we will proceed to get this done.
All right? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Under the consent agenda, for second reading on the portable food concession stand property legally described as Lot 3, Hacienda Palm subdivision located at 2211 South Veterans Boulevard, as requested by Gloria Lopez. Approval of minutes, October 19, October 25th, November the 1st, special call meeting. Any item need to be pulled from the agenda? If not, is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We are now going to executive session pursuant to Section 551, 074, Personal Matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, 551.074, City Secretary, and B, pursuant to Section 551.072, deliberations about real property. We're now entering at 6:56. regarding item number 1 on the agenda, executive on the city secretary. Is there a motion to interview the top 4?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Motion passes. Pursuant to section 551.072, deliberations about real property, no action. Can we decide on a date for the second interview? Ms. Cordero, what is the Monday after we get back from Thanksgiving?
29? Okay, the 27th.
Okay. The 28th, December 28th, okay with everybody? Monday or Tuesday?
All 4 at one time or 2 days?
That's what we did. We did them all on one night.
Okay, so you're saying the 28th is Tuesday?
It's on a Monday.
It's Monday.
So then
It's Tuesday, either one.
Tuesday's fine with me.
Tuesday? All right, that's what date? Then we will conduct those second interviews on the 29th. Same as we've done in the past. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a
Second.
second? All in
Second.
favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes.